Really looking forward to this one. Anup, how you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much, Alex. I'm looking forward to having this
It's
conversation with you.
good, man. What a journey. What a journey. Small world, small world,
Yeah,
but what an inspiring story as someone who's worked their way up. So, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and what do Urban Infraconstruction do?
yeah, absolutely. Like we were talking earlier,
Yeah,
I am from Nepal, born and raised Kathmandu, small country, small part of the world.
yeah.
Um, Growing up in high school, somebody put a bug in my ear that, life on the other side of the pond is, fantastic. And, that bug, the bit me and I took it upon my heart and I told my dad, hey, this is what I want to do.
Love that.
and and then he said, I'll figure out a way to get you there, and once you're there, you're on your own. And that's all I needed, right? This was, I don't know, 22 years ago, 2003.
Nice.
So
So was
yeah,
two immigrants now, two immigrants that are now Americans, one from Nepal,
yes,
one from England. That's
yes,
crazy
yes, yes,
in
yes.
Texas.
Yeah,
So
so I came here to go to college. Went to school for construction. Worked for somebody else for about almost 10 years,
yep,
and did my MBA in the process. Yeah, and then 2015, I wanted to see if I can do it on my own.
nice.
And yeah, so I've been in that journey for the last 10 years.
It's not for everyone running a company, and it is. I tell my wife it's a bit of a curse actually. It's great, but it's a bit of a curse.
Yes, yes.
And I'm really curious because you sort I looked at some of your projects, the I-35 East that you did. I think you did Rowlett Creek, the
Yep,
wastewater treatment facility, coming into the
yes,
Texas market, which um, is quite a lot of legacy companies that I
yes,
hear.
yes.
I'm going to really fast because I know we're a little bit pushed for time. I'm going to really fast forward into that journey. When you set about building your company, what was your North Star like? Why did you do this?
You know, I have like fundamental beliefs that I think that guide me throughout the way.
Okay.
Uh, and like no matter what I'm doing, big, small, that's kind of like my North Star. It's like no
Yeah.
shortcuts, hard, right? Everything is a long game. Don't
Yeah.
take shortcuts. So like everything is driven by that, and don't settle for less,
Yeah.
right? Don't settle for less. And if you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yeah.
So those are like some of the fundamental beliefs that kind of like help me challenge every stage of my life and everything that I do. And I just want to make sure that I stay rooted to those beliefs as I continue on my journey, and like as an immigrant, as an individual, as a student, as a father, son, husband, now as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
like throughout the different stages, it's the same questions.
It's quite it is a big task that you took on board. There's a lot of big companies here in the Texas market.
Yep. Yep.
When you were um potentially introspective question, when you started this journey, why specifically this area and why specifically do what you decided to do?
Yep. Yep. Because that's all I know.
Yeah.
And I like to keep things simple.
Okay.
I really try to not um, go down, of the flavor of the week or what's out there. I really try to keep things simple and operate within the parameters uh, that I have,
Yeah.
and see if I can maximize that.
Yeah.
So, you know, right, wrong, or different. I ended up working for a heavy civil construction company
Yeah.
uh, that did a lot of work around civil construction.
Yeah.
And I had a very unusual career path, and I got exposed to a lot of facets of a operating or building construction project. And at that time, when I wanted to do on my own, uh, that's where the opportunity was. I felt like I could do something with it,
Yeah.
and I took it, and for last 10 years, just trying to optimize it and make it a little bit bigger and be nimble and humble and see what opportunities are out there and just
Love that.
capitalize that.
It's hard. I say to some of my
Yes.
staff here,
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah.
company's like a child. At the start,
Yes.
you just got to try and keep it alive,
Yes.
and then it
Yes.
grows.
Yes.
Um, if you were
Yes.
to, yeah, and it has all different sorts of challenges.
Of course.
If you were to go back and talk to yourself, and you're in day one of launching your company, and we've all been there, right? And you're looking at logos and looking at companies. but you now have an opportunity to speak to a younger you. What would you tell yourself?
Um, I think I'll say a lot of things, but one thing that probably like come to my mind, and I think this is I'll probably get off track a little bit here, but
It's okay.
they say, hey, if you screw up, you screw up big, right? I'm a classic example of that.
You're an
So
entrepreneur,
I
mate.
have
Yeah.
I have I have stories that I walk around saying like, hey, nobody makes more mistake than I do.
Hmm.
And the bigger we get, you keep on adding zeros to those mistakes.
Hmm.
And and then that's where, and I think the word entrepreneurship and entrepreneur in general is used as such a cliche these days. I
Hmm.
feel like, it's a cool thing, it's the thing.
Yeah,
But to your point, it's not for everyone,
it's
right?
not.
Are you really, is that really what you want? When your back is really against the wall, how do you show up? You have it or you don't, and it's nothing right or wrong, good or bad. It's just like some people are built for it, some are not. So
It's an interesting concept because the role of an entrepreneur is head of failure.
yes,
You,
yeah,
you yeah, you're betting that 15-20% of the decisions that you make actually pay off. I also
yeah,
think a lot of business owners, and as this podcast will be shared with a whole bunch of CEOs and high performing executives, many of us will understand that unless you've actually done that role,
yeah,
it's very difficult to empathize with that.
yes, yes, yes.
So as the business progresses, how has your role changed? Because I know at the start you probably did a bit of everything, right? How has your
Yes,
role developed?
yes. At first is, can you, right? My progression was, okay, can you make yourself believe that you can do it, right?
Yeah,
That's the second one. And once you do that, and then the next step was like, okay, can you convince people to give you the work, right? You have to do the sales and marketing. Believe it or
yeah,
not, even in construction, even if it's low bid, putting tender,
yeah,
it's like people have to believe that you'll do it. And then you have to convince the people to come work for you.
yeah,
That was the first difficult thing to have a business. And then after that, it was okay. Whatever you have to do to survive,
yeah,
keep pay the bills and do it. And then can you continue to grow to where generating positive cash flow,
yeah,
and you're doing all that within your system. But then you get to a point where you can't do all that, right? And if you want to continue to grow, continue to be on that journey, then now you have to basically kill the perfectly working system and recreate a whole new system.
yeah,
And then my role, I think, has changed in a way of, from doing all that to now recognizing, I have to build a system and bring in people and integrate them into those roles, and not so much be doing it, but be more strategic about where we're going as a company. And do we have the people? Can we guide the people in the company to take us
sure.
where we want to go? And constantly, I guess, like, to share the message and share the vision and the values that are so dear. Not saying that those are the only values or those are the only way to do it, but hey, that those are my values. That's what led to me starting this and has gotten us to where we are now. And I would like to continue, whoever we bring in the company to share those values and make sure that we're using those values as we kind of get into these gray areas of how do we need to go to North Star, or however you want to call it, to pursue our dreams and our ambitions. Is make sure we're protecting that. That's where I feel like, now in my journey, I spent a lot of time, and I feel like it's my responsibility is to ensure those founding guiding principles that guided me is guiding the company forward.
It's a very hard transition from working in the business to on the business.
Oh, I constantly find myself getting there, like dropping in there, and then and then the reflection and the awareness, and then the humbleness that you need to not let your, I guess, pride sometimes, but also your emotions get into that, and be objective about, hey, I have to change.
Yeah,
A lot of times I'm the one who is on the way, and then being aware of that, and then letting people fail, letting people come up with their own ideas, and let them help them implement those and give them resources.
yeah. It's
that's kind of like where my journey is right now.
it's so hard, and I hopefully you might take some solace in this. I've been fired from every job I had in this company. It's- You go up and you get fired from it, and you have to hire your
Yeah.
replacement.
Yes. Yes.
I'm the
Yeah.
most fired employee ever
Yes.
of our business. We,
Yes.
there's a, it's obviously quite an inspiring journey, and I applaud you for taking on such a large beast of the Texas market. But as we learn and as we progress, there's a bunch of failures or maybe learnings that the industry can take. What common pitfalls do you see from bidding projects to executing projects that may circumvent others from making them? What typical consistencies have you seen with that regard?
I think there's a lot, but like, a few things that comes to my mind right now is not understanding the cost,
Yeah,
right? Uh, Not understanding the values, like the value of your work,
yeah,
uh, not understanding the contracts, owners. A lot of times, especially in Texas, because there's a lot of opportunities. Companies, especially starting out, when somebody big company dangles a carrot in front of you, it's like, oh, we'll give you all this, and you just go with all your heart to capitalize on that opportunity, but doesn't mean it's all good. right? Right, that you may not have the resources, you may not have the capacity, or it's just the wrong contract.
yeah,
So I think we don't, as an industry, especially small to mid-sized companies, don't spend enough time not just building the work, but managing the work, managing the contract, the risk.
yeah,
The more I stay in the business, the more I um, have difficulty comprehending the amount of exposure that we have, and the margin that we have in our projects. It doesn't cover the risk, all the exposure that we have in our industry.
yeah.
The margins don't cover all those exposures, but we keep doing it, and we keep doubling down, and we keep betting on ourselves.
It's quite an interesting concept because risk is three-dimensional. It's not two-dimensional. Risk can
Right.
be, what might be risky to you might be very risky to someone else. And that navigation and understanding the complexities of the project is something that a lot of people, I mean, you're coming into a cash flow position, right?
Yes.
And cash is king.
Yes.
And there's only so much when you are evaluating your projects or as you see your company grow, do you see consistent threads of the projects that you have executed very well compared to ones that you may have not?
Yep. Yes. Yes.
And if so, what regard?
Yeah.
Is it typically types of owners that you prioritize it, types of projects? How do you differentiate that?
Uh, you know, I think some of them is capabilities.
Okay.
A lot of it is people.
Yeah.
Uh, the no matter what our business we are in, I think we're all in people business.
Yeah.
I firmly believe that. I'm blessed to have great people
Yeah.
in my team, but also in my journey, I've seen a fair share of people um, that are not who we think they are,
Yep.
and then it costs you dearly in time, money, reputation, you know, you name it, everything. Those things I think are very important, that I feel like have contributed to the success or failures of the projects.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, having awareness of what has worked for me and what has not worked for me, and just making those micro adjustments along the way.
Nice. And
Uh,
that ability to do that's not easy.
yes. Yes. No,
And
no, no. It's not.
you spoke there quite eloquently about really about the core values
Yes.
of your team. Within your organization and within your structure, what consistencies do you see within your team that have allowed you to execute at such a high level? What would you put that down to?
I think a lot of them is the fundamental things, such as the ability to commit to each other. I think
Yeah.
it is a big part of it. I'm big about especially in our industry, right? It's not the most sexiest industry. It's very difficult, long hours. You're exposed to weather. You're exposed to a lot of different elements. It's not as fancy as some of these AI or high tech, fintech. All these medical. Like we don't have
Yeah.
all those. For some reason, people like us get drawn to this industry and show up early in the morning, show up at late at night, and there's a certain you know culture in that, and really being able to recognize that
Yeah.
and promote that and support that, and then continue to encourage the people who embody those values
Yeah.
into our operations, but also with some sophistication, right? I mean, you need to have the urgency.
Yeah.
Those are some of the core values that we have. Results. I mean, at the end of the day, we live and die by results. We're a project-based company. We
Yeah.
have to deliver it no matter what. There's not just trying. Trying can only get you so much.
Yeah.
You have to deliver results. And I said the higher you go up on the ladder, the higher you're going to be judged by the results that you produce. Right?
Yep.
Right, wrong, or different. That's just the way the industry works, and that's how we have to operate, and not so much about who we have a problem, but hey, everybody can say we have a problem, so and so messed up, but what are we doing to solve that problem? Are you able to come up with a solution and actually work towards solving that problem, regardless of what your role is in the company?
Yeah.
You can have any title, but what are you doing to solve that problem? So I would say like some of those things are, day to day.
And that's quite it's a very interesting point because initiative is something that
Yes.
a lot of companies miss out on. But you spoke quite openly in not so many terms about initiative. How do you drive initiative of thought within your organization and particularly on projects? Because you can't run and do everything, right? You need a high performing team. How do you drive initiative?
Um, I like to push the decision to the lowest level possible,
Okay.
but that's a very dangerous thing to ask, right? And the more you stay in the game, the more you understand the magnitude, the impact of those decisions. But then those are the micro adjustments that we're making along the way. Is okay, that needs to be within certain framework, within certain parameters. Um, so we've structured the business in such a way that I like to keep it flat, but not so flat.
Yep.
As we build the flat, you can only get so much. You don't drink that Kool-Aid all the time.
Yep.
So like tinkering with those structures, but within those structures, I talk to a lot with my business unit leaders,
Okay.
and I talk a lot to my like field level, like ground level, like superintendents, foremans, just to kind of have a pulse on them.
Yeah.
So like they understand these philosophies, they understand those. And one thing I do is like I write a monthly newsletter.
Okay.
It's called Urban Voice, and I highly encourage everyone to, speak, contribute to those to the newsletter. It's a process, right? Not everyone participates in that, but with understanding that hey, everybody has a voice. Um, and the one other thing that we do is we call it like Friday 2 o'clock workshop.
Okay.
So every Friday. Now I'll be honest, like it does not happen every week,
Yeah.
but it happens a lot. We've done it for more than a year now. Everybody knows, especially on operations, there's a 2 o'clock on Friday. It's a workshop. That's when anything that's on your mind. We need more training. We want to bring in a speaker. We want to watch some motivational videos. Whoever, and anybody is more than welcome to grab that spot,
Oh, I
and
love
then
that.
yeah, and use that to talk about anything that's relevant.
Okay.
And
So,
that's a great thing to have come up during those conversations.
and how do you see as you scale your business and as you continue to expand, what things are you um, as a business leader, what are you learning yourself now? What is how does your evolution evolve and what are you personally looking
Yeah.
to learn through this next bit?
Yeah. Uh, one thing that I have realized, but now I am a firm believer now, is having a system. but also communication, right? It doesn't do any good if everything is in my head.
Yeah.
Like where you want to go, how you want to do it. So it took me some time, to be honest, to understand that, oh, people, like, I'm not transferring all these things that I have in my head down to the level, um, like the guy swinging a hammer in the field,
Yeah.
right? Um, so with that recognition, it's okay. How do we, continue to communicate throughout the organization of changes? Like we're changing rapidly, we're evolving rapidly. What was great 3 months ago, may not be ideal way of doing things now. And how do we communicate that? How do we train people to that? And how do we systematize how we do things? Right.
Hmm.
And now we're spread out. We're all over state of Texas. Now, how we do here at home? How do we make sure we do consistently in a satellite office?
Yeah.
Even at home, when we bring people from other companies, how do we show them this is the urban way of doing things?
Yeah.
So those are some of the things that I feel like are fundamental, and we're spending a lot of, like, I am spending a lot of resources and my time to make sure we define what are those, and give clarity to the people from top down,
It's
so
really
that
hard. It's so
it
hard.
is it is
It's
it is
we talk about the two big words that I think is we say is organization and communication.
yes,
It- and as you scale, the things that made you amazing at the start, and it might have been that entrepreneurship flair, it might have been doing that. You can't do that. You have to have really clever systems and processes, and
yes,
also have what we would call cold and hot feedback loops, where cold feedback is you evaluate it a month from now, and a hot feedback you do it in the medium. But that feedback loop will foster
yes,
ingenuity of thought.
yes, yes.
The construction world is changing, though. If you were to look into the future from your lens, what do you see as the major developments coming through? And maybe in terms of bidding, in terms of how projects are delivered, what do you see?
Obviously, easy answer is technology, right?
Yeah.
uh, we are one of the industries which is, I think, like, read several reports which are like, from the adaptation of technology goes, one of the, I guess, the last on the list when it comes to adaptation of technology. I think it's changing a little bit, but I think there's a lot of room uh, for us to allow it to impact the way we do things.
Yep.
Um, Also, we are a very fragmented industry.
Yep.
Uh, Although it's a very big industry, very fragmented across the nation. So I think, like, those challenges are still going to be there, and but at the flip side, I feel like, going back to the earlier point I made, the human side is never going away,
Yep.
right? Still people, it's still building things fundamental, especially in the space that I am in. We're building basic infrastructure to improve people's lives, and that aspect is not going away. So, how do we drive the engagement within the company, uh, within the people, on how we deliver that, regardless of, like, technologies or new ways of materials, newer of technologies. I think those fundamentals are never going away of the human interactions, the fulfillment of the people.
You
Uh,
spoke then about buildings people's lives, and I think sometimes the industry forgets what they actually do and the
yep.
impact that they have.
Yes.
And I know I'm a little bit pushed for time, so I want to make sure I really understand here. I want to ask you as a person, what's been the most proudest moment that you've
Yes.
had on this journey? If you could look back, what's the
Yeah.
proudest you've been?
Yes. Yes. At a personal level, you
Yeah,
know, making a promise to myself that, hey, I'm not gonna settle for less, and I deserve more and better, and there's no limit
yeah,
to what I want to dream, and freaking go after it. And, like, every day, at the end of the day, say, like, you know what, did I give my best? And being able to do that consistently without any restrictions, um, I would say that's been the most satisfying aspect of this journey. And I like to say to my folks here, like, success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure, right? So, and for different people, it's different things, right? For different people, the fulfillment comes from different things. Like for me, early on was, can I give a better life to my wife, my kid, and the community? It drove a lot. But now, along with that, those things are there. But now, trying to find people that are not, satisfied, or they're hungry somewhere else, but they're not getting the opportunities to kind of bring them along and help them see their dreams, and align them with my dreams, and combine that and give them a platform to make it happen, and give them that runway to say, like, hey, I don't care where you're from, I don't care how old you are, you have the capacity, you have the desire, you have the dream, go make the rain. And being able to do that, I get a lot of fulfillment out of that at this stage. um, and there's a lot of challenges that comes with that. A lot of adjustments that we have to do, because all those calls are not right. But
Yep.
also that I had to do a lot of growing up to say, like, okay, this didn't work out, let's make a course correction, but we'll do it in a very respectful way, right?
Yeah.
This is not a mode of operation for everyone. Not everybody they want it, but once they get in, they realize, oh, this is not how I want to do it, right? Which is nothing wrong with it, right? Nothing's wrong with it.
Yeah.
uh, because you have that thought, you have that opinion, doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just not my way of doing things.
Yeah.
But in those moments, being very objective and doing it a respectful way, and not dragging it on for 6 months, 12 months. And as soon as you recognize, make those changes and do it respectfully, for them, but also for the other people in the group, because hey, they are dependent on decisions that I make.
Yeah.
Right. So I take a lot of pride in, all these people that we have in the group and the families, their lives, their families' lives depend on decisions that I make. And knowing that, all the decisions are not going to be correct. So I need to make sure I make, more of the right decisions.
It's not easy, mate. It's
It's
not
hard.
easy. And there's a couple of last questions that I really want to ask you because this conversation has maybe changed my thoughts. How have you spoke quite a lot about the emotions that you face as a leader. How
Yes.
have you emotionally detached yourself from making the right decision? Because not every decision that you have to make, there will be
Yes.
potentially some collateral damage. How have you taken that?
It's so counter to how I run, right? One of them is slowing down.
Okay.
I've really slowed down on my decision making. And I think a lot. I've always been a thinker, but challenging my thoughts, and surrounding myself with people that are naturally um, thoughtful.
Okay.
I have a coach
Yep.
who challenges me
Yeah,
on
I'm sure.
thinking. And believe it or not, running. That's why I run,
Yeah, I saw
especially
that.
long
Yeah.
runs, especially my long runs. Long runs are getting longer as I get closer to my next marathon. Like those 3 hour run, 4 hour runs, and I do a lot of thinking there. uh, so I think a combination of a lot of those things, is, I guess, like what I try to do.
Okay. Last one, and then we'll wrap it up. If you were to say we go 5 years from now, how would you like urban infraconstruction to be thought of and remembered?
I would want it to be very simply, all the great people would want to come join our team, because they will see, like, that's the company that I want to go work and spend the next, you know 10, 15, 20 years, productive years of my career, where I want to build a relationship and make an impact.
Okay.
And then the client is like, that's the company that I want, who would, help us, realize our, dreams
Yeah.
when it comes to building their assets, right? The public infrastructure assets.
Yeah.
So those would be, if we are able to achieve those two things, then I
You've
think
done it.
I would say we've done it well.
And a lot of it does happen quite regularly off some of these podcasts. Are you okay for fellow executives and CEOs to reach out to you that may be going through similar things in the essence of networking? Is that going to be okay for you?
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big believer in network, and I'm part of YPO.
Okay,
We have a big community of like-minded, supporting each other, community.
good.
It's
And how's best to reach out to you? What's your preferred method? If people are sat
uh,
there and there'll be some VP of Ops somewhere going, "Oh, I love exactly what he said there." What's your preferred method of communication?
um, LinkedIn message is good, email is good. I'll say like between those two,
Yeah,
LinkedIn is probably I think like easiest way to kind of find me
yeah,
and like me, and I stay reasonably active in LinkedIn. I don't think I
yeah.
go 2 or 3 days without looking at
I
LinkedIn.
feel like I get hundreds of them. Oh yeah, all
Yeah,
sorts of stuff, planting trees, all sorts of
yes,
random stuff. So
yes, yes. No, no, I really appreciate you reaching out. This is one thing that, and one of the changes that I've had to make. Like before, it was like, okay, put your head down, go to work.
yeah,
Let your work, show what you do. But like, recently, I have switched my mindset around that a little bit. It's like, hey, it's also sharing my story, reaching out to the community about how I've done it, how
yeah.
I'm continuing to do it, and where I want to go, so that I could, hopefully, uh, do it with more of the same type of people, and
It's amazing. It's a great story, and there's some brilliant things that I know the audience will love in there. Thank you so much, but from me personally for doing this, I've really enjoyed this.